If you are joining on class online, just heads up, we'll start in 2 minutes here at 1:05 just to allow everyone to get on. So feel free to grab a coffee or water or anything. Okay, Joel's is in the conference room. KWB culture room, it's the smallest. Do you know, it's open, the door. You know where PJ's office is? Right to the left of PJ's office. All right. Okay, so today's class, we are going over DocuSign, of course. So I'll show you how to access all your forms, fill out the forms, and send for electronic signature. Now, I'm going to show you where the notes are for today's class. So if you forget anything that I say, you can always go back and either watch a quick video or read the notes. All right, and then we'll dive into what that workflow looks like. But as far as getting all of the notes, that's going to be on kwbresources.com. So again, kwbresources.com is the internal website for all Keller Williams Ballantine agents, right? So this is not for the public, this is for you. Just a heads up, right? The office calendar is on here, so you can always see the topic of the tech class where it says office calendar at the top. But where it says tech resources, if you would like to pull up the DocuSign notes so that you always have them and you can favorite it, hover over tech resources on the black toolbar and click on the third option down for live tech training. So again, hovering over tech resources, click on live tech training from that drop down. It'll always show you our training calendar first for tech, but if you scroll down slightly, about halfway down the page, you'll see where it says DocuSign. So I'm going to work on alphabetizing this list, but in the black section here, you'll see that it says DocuSign. If you click on that, it'll pull up all the DocuSign notes. So again, just one more time how I got here. Hover over tech resources on kwbresources.com. Live tech training from that drop down. And then you scroll down slightly to find the DocuSign notes. It's just a clickable link. And that will give you essentially everything that I'm saying, either as written notes on the very top one there, and I'll pull that open, or as well 10-minute versions of basically everything that I'm about to say. So if you forget what I'm saying, you can always come back and watch this in increments. All right, this one right here, the 30-minute overview, is the same video that's on the KWB Resources homepage. All right, so I'll show you that so you can always access the steps. If you do like written steps, you can click on that first option and it'll give you 10 steps to start a transaction in Command with DocuSign. Okay, so depending on if you like written steps or you want a 10-minute video, this will give you both of those. And this is a live Google Doc, meaning anytime I update this, it would update on your end as well. So if you do want to favorite this or bookmark this sheet here, you can always come back to it and it's going to be your complete DocuSign overview. So if you're not sure how to bookmark things on your browser, it's usually the star icon on the far right of your URL bar. All right, I'm going to just click on those top notes so you can see what we're going to be doing. So you can just watch on my screen, but I'm going to click on the written notes here, so just so you guys know. This is the workflow that we're going to be going through. The workflow to start a transaction in Command with DocuSign is very specific, these steps in order, and I'll show you exactly what they are, but this will have it written out for you as well. Okay, so without further ado, let's go through that process here. Okay, and just a reminder that you don't have to remember everything that I'm going to say, right? We're in the hub Tuesday through Friday from 12 to 12:30. So if you need help, time-sensitive help with DocuSign, just come see me, and I'll help you anytime. Again, that's Tuesday through Friday from 12 to 12:30 in the hub. All right, so first thing that we do is we go to command, okay? So where we go to start a transaction in DocuSign is command. So I am at agent.kw.com to log into command. Okay, so we start all transactions from command. That's really important. Okay, so once we are in command, again at agent.kw.com, we typically want our contact to be in our database first, okay? So on the left-hand side menu, you can click on the KW logo and it'll pan out this menu so you can start to get a hang of what these icons mean. If you can click on the Opportunities tab, that will show you your pipeline, essentially, okay? And so I do want to explain the difference between, okay, here's an opportunity pipeline. What does this tool do for me versus what do my contacts tab? What do those do differently, okay? So first of all, your contacts, right? That contacts tab should have your entire database in it, essentially, right? Everyone you know should be in the contacts of command so you can create systems around reaching out to your contacts, okay? So contacts is every person you know, essentially. Versus the opportunities tab, right? You're going to create a new opportunity each time that you have a meaningful conversation with someone about real estate, okay? So let's say you talk to, let's say 30 people this week. 6 of them tell you that, yeah, maybe in a year, in 6 months, in 3 months, I'm looking to buy or sell. Okay, that's a lot of conversations and a lot of different stages that they're in for you to mentally keep up with. Okay, this takes that mental load off of it. So what you would want to do is create an opportunity. I'll show you that in just a moment here. Create an opportunity for each one of those clients who you have a meaningful conversation about real estate with, who indicate that they're looking to buy or sell in the next 6 months to a year, okay, whatever that time frame is. What you would do is come into opportunities here and click create opportunity. Okay, so if you'd like to follow along and do that, I'm going to click create opportunity on the top right. Okay, and there's really just 3 fields you have to fill in, but you will do this every time that you start a new transaction. You create a new opportunity, okay? And an opportunity is really just as corny as it sounds. It's an opportunity for a sale, right? So again, we're in the Opportunities tab on the left-hand side of command, and then click Create Opportunity, and you should see this box that I'm looking at here. All right, the 3 fields you have to fill out. If you do want to jot this down, opportunity type would be the first field that you have to fill in. You're telling it whether it's a listing or a buyer, landlord or tenant. I'm going to do a listing if you would like to follow along with that, but you can do buyer. Either one would be essentially the same. Okay, so first field I have to fill out, opportunity type. Second field I have to fill out, client. So if they are in your database already, you can start typing in their names, and you'll see that it'll come up in the drop-down. If they are not in your database yet, you can see that you would have the option to add a new contact right here. Okay, so whether they're in your database already, I would be able to type in their name. So if you have someone in your database, or if you have a test contact, you could type in test, or you can even create a test contact. If you have yourself in your database, you could also create a test opportunity for you. So if you want to type in your name. Either way, if you're in your database, go ahead and click on yourself or your test contact from that list, or you can click Add New Contact. And it'll just prompt you to put in the email address for the contact as well. Okay, so outside of that, co-seller. So if there is a spouse on the transaction, we would want to make sure we have them as a co-seller. So same concept. If they're already in your database, they'll come up, or you can click to add new. Okay, and I'll go over these 3 fields again. But the third and final field that you have to fill out to continue would be the commission rate. that is talking about your side of the commission, and that is changeable. So you would want to essentially put in 3% if that's what you usually charge. Okay. And then you can click create. But to go over that one more time, the 3 fields you have to fill out every time you start an opportunity would be 1, the opportunity type, whether it's a listing or a buyer. 2, the client. And 3, your commission rate. Okay, so I know there are a lot of fields that you're looking at. There's really just those 3 fields that you have to fill out: opportunity type, client, and then the commission rate. And you can click create. And feel free to pipe up if you guys have any questions at all. Of course, this class is for you, so you just let me know. Okay, and now you've started an opportunity. Okay, so now the final step to get into DocuSign, okay, so now this is the home stretch here, getting into DocuSign. What we would do is click on the Documents tab on this top white toolbar. Okay, so Documents tab, this is how we get into DocuSign. Okay, this next step is very important. It'll make you do it anyway. But before we go into DocuSign, I'll tell you how in a minute here, you'll see it says Pick Checklist Type on the left-hand side, okay? So if you click where it says Pick Checklist Type, first of all, if you selected a buyer opportunity, your options will look different than mine. That's okay. Sabra and Tasha create these lists for you. This is going to show you all the required forms that you would need for, let's say, a North Carolina listing or South Carolina listing. If you selected a buyer opportunity, you're looking at buyer-related lists. So you would want to do like the North Carolina sales checklist, I believe it is, or something like that. Okay, so the takeaway is we always click Pick Checklist Type first, right? Why that's so important and so exciting is when I tell the system, okay, I'm doing a North Carolina listing, it's going to automatically pull in all the forms that are required into my DocuSign room. So I don't need to go find them all, figure out what forms I need. As long as I tell it what checklist I'm using, right? It's a North Carolina listing. Now, and you can get, as long as you've selected a checklist, you can now click Start a Transaction on the top right here, this blue button. Okay, for you, you'll only have to click on it. It'll go right to DocuSign. Probably don't have .loop linked, but I'll click on Start a Transaction. And if nothing happens, it's probably just a pop-up blocker. So let me know if you click Start a Transaction, nothing happens. It's probably you need to look in your URL bar and just see if there's like a little X at the top to allow the pop-up. So just let me know if you need help getting into DocuSign. But now that I click Start a Transaction, right, what it did is it created the DocuSign room, linked the two together, and put all the forms that I'm required to have for this transaction already in there. Yes?
North Carolina and South Carolina on the buy side.
Good question. Well, question for you in return then. Do you make them sign a working with real estate agents for which state they're probably looking in, or what do you do there? Both. Interesting. So it's per the property. I would say that at that point, I would start, whichever one they're most likely to buy in, and then you can still add the South Carolina one as well. But that's a really good question. I would want to ask another agent what they do for best practice, but like as far as how, you can absolutely bring in the other forms manually, right?
Showing for and so yeah, competition.
I see. So, okay, let me reiterate that then. Then in that case, and I'll check on my answer for you though, I would maybe suggest having 2 opportunities, one for North and South Carolina. So you do have both sets of forms, because especially if the commission agreement is a whole nother form. Let me confirm. That's a really good question. Let me confirm that answer, but I think that's what I would do. Yeah, for sure. Great question. The question online is, by the way, if you're showing in South and North Carolina. Okay, guys. So, and yeah, I'll come back to that if you are online and want to know that answer too. I'll get back to you on that answer shortly here. Okay, so now that we are in, and if you are not looking at what I'm looking at, please just let me know and I can catch you up, okay? But what's important for you to know at this point is that when we initially start the DocuSign room, right, that we do those steps that we just did, right? So what we did essentially was we started the opportunity in KW command, and we clicked Start a Transaction. And that started the transaction in DocuSign and linked the two together. What we don't want to do is go directly to DocuSign to start a new transaction, okay? So we do not go to DocuSign directly to start new transactions. We always start them in Command first. Now, once you've started the transaction, okay, so you did it like the steps that we just did, you can forever now go to rooms.docusign.com to log in and access this right away. Okay, so again, it's not just DocuSign, it's rooms.docusign.com. It's the real estate side of DocuSign. So just to reiterate that, you start all transactions in Command with those steps, right? I know that was quite a few steps we went through to start this. But after you start it that one time, then after that, you can always go directly to DocuSign by going to rooms.docusign.com to access all of your forms immediately. Does that make sense? Exactly. And that's where you can go like after you've already started it. But if you are starting a transaction for the first time, starting an opportunity, it's imperative that you do the steps that we just did, the workflow, to start it in Command with an opportunity to then click create a transaction or start a transaction, and it links the two systems together. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah, are you looking for your one you already have?
Yeah, it's under here, right?
Yeah, it's probably, I mean, yeah, it's under all opportunities. So you should be able to click on it once it loads. Perfect. Click on the opportunity name. Perfect. I know it. And then once that loads, we'll click on documents. And there are a lot of agents out here that I'm going to ask that question to, if that's okay with you guys. Yeah.
Just so you know, I don't know if she got other numbers too.
I'm sorry, can I ask you a question? If you're showing if you're showing a buyer in North and South Carolina, do you start 2 rooms so that you have forms for both of them? So you have 2 separate rooms for, okay, yeah. Yeah, okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, yes, confirmed that you would start 2 different rooms if you're showing them in North and South Carolina. So then you'd have all your South Carolina forms in one room and then all your North in the other. Does that make sense? Let me say it again. So yeah, you essentially start 2 opportunities at the beginning. Yeah, you can name them like South Carolina. Yes, exactly. And then once you, of course, go under contract, then you can move forward with whichever one, right? But exactly. But like you're saying, yeah, starting both if you need both South Carolina and North Carolina forms. Good question. And a little messy. Thank you for bringing that up. That's a good question. All right, guys, so now let's talk about how we would fill out the forms, okay? So as you can see, a bunch of forms automatically pull in. You can pull in additional forms, but these should be most of your required forms. Filling out the form itself is super easy, or intuitive rather. So to do that, you can simply click on any of the forms. So don't click the checkbox, just click on the form itself, and that will open it up so that you can just start typing in your form, right? So your 2 options at this point is you can either type in your form and then print it out to bring it on your appointment with you. So if you want to explain the listing agreement to them, let's say, you could absolutely do that. Of course, the point of DocuSign is so that you can send it via email for electronic signatures. So I'll show you that as well, right? But the idea is once the form opens, that we can just click to start typing, okay? So you can, usually the seller name should automatically pull in here, but let's say if I just start click for the property address, I can go ahead and put that in. So filling out the form is really as easy as clicking to start typing. Filling out, selecting any radio dots or calendar fields, same concept, you click to fill out the field. Just to note, you will not see the initial or signature boxes at this point, but those will all be automatically added for you. So they'll be shown where to sign your clients. You don't have to put that in. But at this point in the stage, what you're doing is going through and filling out the form, okay? So you're going through and clicking to type to fill it in. If you're not sure what to put in the fields, that would be a question for your coach or your T group partner. All right, so again, we're clicking to fill out this form. And once you do that, okay, once you fill out the entire form, so use your imagination, let's click Save and Close on the very top right. Now, if you click Save and Close, feel free, it'll take a second. I just want to point out that there are document actions on the top right. I'm going to come back to this, so kind of just pin this in your brain. You can see all these document actions up here, so you'd be able to print it from here, right? You can create an envelope, keep that in your head too. That means send for electronic signature, okay? So you can do all of that from up here, this document action. It looks like an icon, like a folded sheet of paper. But for now, if you don't mind clicking Save and Close on the top right, I'm going to show you how to send multiple at once or print multiple at once. But that would allow you to do it just one at a time. Okay, so let's imagine that we went through, let's say we clicked Open the exclusive right to sell. I filled that in. I clicked to open the working with real estate agents as well. So the first step is always just clicking on the form to open it and type in it, okay? So now that I've edited it, I want to either print it or send for signature. How we do that? Now see when I click this checkbox right here on the top left of the form, then this bulk action menu appears. That is not there at all if I don't have anything checked, which I think is a little sneaky, so I like to point that out. So what I can do is I can check multiple forms at this point. So let's say I'm sending the working with real estate agents and the exclusive right to sell. Again, imagine that I already clicked to open it and start typing it in. That would be the first step. Now that I check the check boxes, up here, you can hover your mouse so you can see what the icons do. But I could click print right there, right? It would print out the forms for me so I could bring it on my appointment, explain it to them, and have it hand signed. That's one option, okay? And I can show you how you can scan it back to your computer. I'll get to that. But of course, point of DocuSign is to send for electronic signatures. So that icon looks like the little pen icon. And DocuSign calls it creating an envelope. Okay, and I'll explain that to make sense of it. But if you want to go ahead and click on that little pen icon, again, I only see this option if I click the check boxes on the top left of the forms that I would like to send for electronic signature. And then click create envelope, that pen icon. And that will pull it into a quote unquote envelope. So channel snail mail here to make sense of this, okay? If I'm sending forms in the physical mail, I would grab an envelope and I would put, who do I want to receive it, okay? So depending on what kind of form you're sending, it'll give you the options for who needs to sign. In this case, I have a listing agreement, so a listing agent would sign, and seller 1 and seller 2. So you can check the check boxes and click continue. What it's going to do is it's going to pull in those sellers' information and your information from command over to DocuSign so it knows where to send the forms. So again, channeling snail mail, right? Because they say add to envelope or whatever it was I said. So envelope, right? Okay, we have those documents in the envelope. Now I don't know why this isn't working correctly. So now under add recipients, you should already see your clients from that list. Do you guys see your clients automatically fill in? Okay. Okay, I'll come help you too. There is an important thing you need to know about this section here. One second. Okay, I'm going to explain what you really need to know about the section right here, and then I will come help you guys catch up if I lost anyone. Okay, so this section, right, is saying who will receive the form. Okay, and you'll see that it has the set signing order, the 1, 2, 3. Okay, now what that would mean if I send the forms, right, is it will send to person marked as a 1 first, and it will not send to the person marked as a 2 until person number 1 does their job. Okay, so meaning person number 2 won't get it until the first person signs. Person number 3 won't get it until these 2 people sign. That was probably confusing how I explained that, right? So it doesn't matter. You can share it like that. However, it's how you explain it to them. So if you say, hey, I just emailed over all the forms for you guys to sign, but you set it up as a 1, 2, 3. Well, no, these 2 people aren't going to get it until after this first person signs. Does that make sense? I'll explain the uses of this, but 2 things. First of all, right, I mean, I do, yes, that's correct. It doesn't matter as far as technically wise. I have heard agents say they prefer to get it first, like they leave themselves as listing agent, receive it first, and then it goes to their clients. I don't know if you have an opinion on, do you sign your forms first?
As soon as I send it, I'm gonna go sign it.
So you're usually the first person that signs the form still, right? Okay, yeah, so like in general, right, unchecking it right there would make it so that everyone receives it at the same time, which is good, probably 90% of the time. Let me tell you when you would want it, and this is a little bit next level. So if you can kind of store this either in your notes or in the back of your brain. In general, again, you can just uncheck this. It'll go to everyone at once. Now, the times that it would matter that they fill it out in a 1, 2, 3. If it's a form they're filling out, the residential property disclosure or the mineral and gas rights, is there another form that you can think of that they fill out? Those are the main two, right? That's when you would need it to share in a 1, 2, 3, because what would happen is, okay, let's say the husband's first on the list, he would fill out the form, right? First, like fill it in, and then the person marked as a 3 would just sign for what they filled in, right? So again, if it's a form they are filling in, that's when you want to share it as a 1, 2, 3. So the person marked as a 2, or the person who goes first, the spouse, can fill it out first. Then the second spouse just signs for what they filled in. Does that make sense? Exactly. Exactly. So in this case, right, I would be indicating, okay, I want Tony Stark to be able to fill out the form and sign for it. And then this client is just going to be able to sign for what he put in. So if your takeaway from that is, okay, when I have a residential property disclosure, I need to send to come see me in the hub, and I'll help you share it like this. Just know that there's a flag that you need to come see me or your coach. That would be your takeaway from this, okay? That's really the main time that you would use that. Other than that, you can just uncheck it and it'll send it to all of them at one time. Okay. If you have questions on that, just let me know.
I printed it out.
Okay, that's fine. Next. Oh, like she's gonna give you back. She wrote it in, right, on the form. Yeah, and then you can scan it, and I mean he's gonna need to sign it then. Is that right? Okay, you'll have to add initial boxes manually at that point because you printed it out, right? And she's hand filling it out. Then I'll show you how, but you would have to scan it back in, add initial boxes manually for him to be able to sign. Okay, yes, that would be yeah, come to me and we'll figure it out together. All right, guys, so you can put a note on the bottom. So if you talked about something specific, you could put that right here. I will say a lot of agents is a bit of a next level tip, but once you send a few envelopes, right, and they all have it defaults with the subject line, it becomes helpful if you change the subject line to what forms are actually in there, like the exclusive right to sell and working with real estate agents for your records so you can see what was sent. I'll come back to that. That is kind of a next level tip, but your takeaway if for your organization, if you change the subject line slightly, it helps you see what you're sending your clients. Okay, and last step here for you click on next on the bottom right. Now there's nothing you have to do on this page, okay? Really, we're just checking over it and pressing send. All right, but the ways that you can check over your work here. So first of all, right, because we already filled in the entire form in theory, right, in the first step. So at this point, all you're having to do is check to make sure the initial and signature boxes are added manually, or sorry, automatically, which they will, right? Again, Tasha and Sabra set this up so they know exactly where each person needs to sign. You don't need to know that. They set that up for you, which is amazing. So what you're looking at here, for example, if I'm looking at the bottom of the first page, I can see 3 different colors of initial boxes. Just a heads up, that correlates to the drop down on the very top left. Right, you can see I have each of my clients correlated with a colored dot. That correlates to which field they'll be able to sign. I can see on the right-hand side quickly here as well, okay, all 3 colors will be able to sign that. The gray means a field you would be able to fill out like this. All right, but really there's nothing you have to do here except press send. But one thing I always do so I can sleep at night is just click preview on the top right. And then you can preview it as if your client received it. So just a heads up, this is an additional step if you want to. It just said preview on the top right. I clicked on it. It's going to give me the option to, okay, which client do I want to view this as? And you'll see exactly what it looks like when they go through and sign it. So when they open the form, this is what it's going to look like for them. They click start. It'll take them down to the first field. See, they only see their field to sign. They click. It moves them down to the next field. They click. right? So you can see exactly that they can sign all the spots they need to and how it takes them through the workflow. Of course, it's not actually signing for them. This is just for your preview, and so you can sleep at night. So I can X out on the top right here because it's just a preview, which we got from here, and you can click send. Okay. If you were just doing a practice, you can click actions on the top right and click save and close or discard. But in actual practice, we would click send on the bottom right. Okay, there's just a couple more things I do need you guys to be aware of. And now that's what happens when you need to sign the form and what signed forms look like when they come back and how you get paid with your signed forms, okay? So whenever you send a form for signatures like we just did, first of all, if you need to sign the form, it will send to your email for you to sign it, and it will also give you the option to sign it from here. So you can see it says needs my signature right here, right? I can simply click on that, and it gives me the option to sign right here. Cool beans, huh? It again will send via email as well, so you can sign it from your email or you can sign it right from here, and I'll show you again how we got here. So just one more thing as well. So anytime that a form will not come back signed until all parties have signed, okay? So you'll, as an agent, you'll get a notification each time someone signs. So let's say you get an email notification that Tony Stark signed, seller one signed, okay? But if you come back to DocuSign, you won't see the signed copy until all parties have signed, okay? So let me show you the difference of how that looks and how we can help resend it if someone's not able to find it or sign it, okay? So if you're following along with me, I'm going to X out on the top right here. Okay. But where I am, just to show you where we are, like the envelope section, we've done everything so far in the Documents tab, right? The Documents tab is where we access our forms and fill out our forms. So that's the main place we spend time in DocuSign is this Documents tab. Envelopes is the second biggest spot we spend time in, and that's showing you any time that one or a group of forms was sent for electronic signature, right? I have this envelope, and I have both the exclusive right to sell and the working with real estate agents in this one envelope. So like I mentioned, let's say that one person does not sign, right? It will hold up the entire form. So just a heads up, this is something that really comes in handy. You can resend it from here. And again, I'll show you how I got here. But under more, you'll see it says resend. That will only resend it to the party who has not signed. Okay. So if everyone signed except one person, they can't find the form, oh, I didn't get it. No worries. You just come in to more, click resend, and it will send to the one party who does need to sign. Because again, you will not get the fully signed document back until all parties have signed. Okay, so that is usually a very handy tool. Under more, you can click resend, and again, I'll show you how I got here. So again, under envelopes, that's where specifically, if you need to resend a group of forms someone hasn't signed, that's where you go envelopes, click on it, and then you can click resend from there. Okay. And now if you want to watch on my screen, I'm going to show you what signed documents look like, the difference between them, and how to add more forms. I'm just going to switch. I have a room that has signed forms. Okay, so when you are looking at your forms, and if you're, looking in your room, that's totally fine in the Documents tab, you'll notice all your forms have this blue form icon, right? That blue form icon means it's an interactive form. If I click on the form, I can just start typing in that form, okay? Now, once it comes back signed, you'll see it comes back as a totally separate copy with a green signed icon. Yep, so you'll always have the original. So here's the original exclusive right to sell, for example. I can tell it's the original because it has the blue form icon, meaning it's just typable. Once all parties sign, right, it comes back as a totally separate copy of the form with that green signed icon, and it's no longer editable, right? So if I click on it, I can tell it's not going to allow me to just fill in the fields because it's going to preserve the signatures instead, okay? This one is real. So again, that would happen once all parties sign, then the signed copy comes back, okay? Now, as far as that blue icon goes, if you need to add more forms, right? So let's say you need to add, I don't know if the lead-based paint form, right? Because it adds all the required forms automatically. If there's a conditional form like lead-based paint, let's just say, you might need to go grab more forms. In that case, okay, so here are steps to add additional forms. This is how you access all of your forms. You would click on Add on the top right, that blue button. And you'll see that same icon. See next to DocuSign Forms, that blue icon? That means these are all the forms that are automatically fillable for you. So the second option down under Add. Okay. And so this is going to show you on the left-hand side all your forms, period. So North Carolina and South Carolina. So what you're looking at on the left-hand side, first we see that broken down into packets. So this is Saber and Tasha, categorizing your forms essentially into South Carolina buyer forms, North Carolina buyer forms, etc. And you also have libraries, so all of, let's say, your NCAR forms or FCAR forms as well. Depending on if you're licensed in both, you should have both. Right, but how you would add additional forms, let's say, is I could click on whichever category would apply to me. So North Carolina listing file. I can search for the form I'm looking for and simply click the checkbox to add selected. And that would allow you to bring in additional forms. Do we feel okay on that? Okay. Great. Okay, I'm going to show you guys how to now submit for compliance review, which you would have to do to get paid. But before I do that, any questions on what I've gone over? I know this is a lot, right? Your takeaway for any of this is know that the feature exists. Come see me if you need the help, right? That's why we have open tech time, so I can do this with you. Okay, so don't feel like you're alone in this. I also have the recording on KWB resources I'll show you. So I know this is a lot. You're not alone in that, right? I'll help you every step of the way. Okay, so the final step here. So far what we have done is we've learned how to access our forms, fill in our forms, and send for electronic signature, okay? So now this part of the phase, we have our signed documents back. We need to submit our signed documents to the office to get paid, period. If you want to get paid, you have to know this next step or get a TC, one of those. Oh, transaction coordinator. Yeah, I know, right? They do it for you. But again, knowing that I used to do compliance for the office and you know where to find me, right? Just come see me and I'll guide you on how to do the whole thing. Okay, so this next part is if you want to get paid, this is what you would need to do with your signed forms. Okay. Now, to explain how the two systems work together, this is important in this part. So I have the opportunities command, like if you still have this tab open, it should be the red KW and it should say opportunities/command. So this is where we started, right? And to explain the difference, because I was pretty confused when I was first learning this. Like you're telling me, okay, there's a documents tab in the opportunity and command, but there's a documents tab in DocuSign too. Why? You know, why are there two? That was very confusing. So this is the big takeaway, okay? So the documents tab in DocuSign. So DocuSign is used between you as the agent and your client to get your forms signed, okay? So again, DocuSign is used between the agent and your client to access your forms and get them electronically signed. Once they come back signed, that's when you use the Documents tab of Command, right, your opportunity, to submit your signed paperwork. So Command, this Documents tab, is used between the agent and the office to submit your signed paperwork, so they'll give you your paycheck. So again, Command, what you're looking at here, this is used between the agent and the office to submit your signed paperwork so you can get paid, okay? One of the awesome things our office does is just compliance on all of your paperwork, meaning they look at every single form to make sure you're not going to go to real estate jail for getting one signature or filling out one form, right? So they do compliance for you. This is where they do it. They do not go into DocuSign at all. So if you want your paycheck, you need to put your signed forms in the Documents tab of the opportunity in order to get paid. Okay, so let me show you the how on that. And the takeaway can be here as well. Okay, know that I would need to do this and then come find Leah during open tech hours and she'll do it with me. Okay, that's can absolutely be the takeaway here. Okay, so in order to get paid, I am in the Documents tab of my opportunity. If you need help getting here, just let me know. In the Documents tab of my opportunity, on the left-hand side, depending on if you picked a buyer or a seller, right, I'll see listed, under contract, and closed. If you selected a buyer, I believe it says something like consultation, under contract, and closed, okay? So what we would do, I'm going to talk about listing first, and then I'll talk about a buyer, okay? What we would want to do is we come in here into our transaction, and you'll see all the forms. This is a checklist of all the forms that you need to get your paycheck. First of all, you see where it says requirement, right? If I click on the requirement column header, it'll sort all my forms to have the required ones on top. I like that, so I can easily see, okay, these required forms would need to be added for my listing file in order to get my paycheck, okay? So what I would do is once my forms are signed, I would come in and I would click select on the right-hand side. I know you can't see this here, but it would show me only signed forms and PDFs in that DocuSign room. So using your imagination that you got the Working with Real Estate Agents signed in DocuSign, you would simply click here and you'd see Working with Real Estate Agents, and it would only show you the signed copy. Yes.
Okay, so you've got a transaction where one of the required documents is not part of the transaction. Is there a place to put a note?
Which one is this?
For example, if I've got a listing,
Mhm.
there's no buyer's agent. So there's gonna be no compensation. No form.
Yeah, you have really good questions, Dave. So I'll have to find out specifically for that one. But yeah, to answer your question, you could do one of two things, and I'll ask Lynn what she wants you to do actually. But you can click the three dots on the far right here to add a document manually. So that is one option. So you can absolutely do that to add in just that form. I would have to double check if that's what they want. Agency.
And you don't know, and then I use DocuSign.
Yeah, dot loop work. Yeah, good question. I would say that's what you do, but I'll find out for that form specifically if they want something different. Yeah, for sure. In general, most of them are on this list, so that shouldn't happen too often, but still, good question. So we would add in, so if you're representing the listing, okay? So they don't look at this file until you click this submit to MC right here, okay? So what we're doing, where it says required, I'm putting in all of the signed forms right there. If you got it signed in DocuSign, great. You can just click that drop down to pull it in over from DocuSign. However, let's say you got it hand signed, right? You're holding a physical piece of paper like the Working with Real Estate Agents signed in your hand. You can also scan it in to your computer. So the Office scanner right here, in case you guys didn't know, I can show you how. It has your email address already pre-programmed in it. So you just search your name and click on it, and then it scans, let's say, the Working with Real Estate Agents right to your email. So you could put it in here as well, okay? And again, I can show you that. But the idea would be if you do have a physical piece of paper, like you got it hand signed, that's no problem. You can do that for all of your forms if you would like to. And then in that case, you would just drag and drop or browse your computer to pull in that signed form. Okay. So you can see now that I added in a form, it allows me to click submit to MC. Okay, and we'll talk about next. I want to tell you when you would click submit to MC. Okay. So again, the takeaway, what we've done so far is in the Documents tab of the opportunity, what we're looking at here, this is where we add our signed forms, right? We go listed, under contract, and closed, okay? Now, let's talk about when we click to submit to the MC, okay? Again, the reason we click submit to MC is so they'll do compliance on your file so that they'll release your paycheck. So it's a good reason. So this is very important for you guys to know. Okay, if you are representing the listing, like I am here, you would click submit to MC 3 different times during the transaction, okay? This one right here. So what you would do, this is what Sabre wants, about 3 days after it goes live in the MLS, okay? So 3 days after you're live in the MLS, Sabre would like you to submit your signed paperwork, signed by the seller, and click submit to MC. If you're missing like proof of square footage or something like that, no worries. They'll leave a note letting you know what you're missing. But the idea would be to get most of the forms that you can in 3 days after you go live in the MLS, and then click submit to MC. That's once. You do it again when you go under contract. So at that point, you would add all of your under contract paperwork, right? You can see I can switch to that other folder. So that'll be the fully executed offer, right? Fully executed residential property disclosure. You would add all your contract documents within 3 days of going under contract and click submit to MC again. And I'll repeat this. And then a third and final time when you close, right? That's when you would add in the CD, whatever else, to your closing file and click submit to MC again. And I will repeat that, but what you don't want to do is wait until you close, add all your paperwork, because then they'll hold your commission check, not to be mean, but they have to go through and do compliance on every single folder to keep you guys out of real estate jail and keep the brokerage safe as well. But so it delays your paycheck, and I know you don't want that. So what we don't do is wait till closing to add all of our documents in. What we do instead is one more time, we submit for compliance review 3 times, once when you go live in the MLS, once when you're under contract, and once when you're closed, okay? And you'll get an email letting you know if you are missing any paperwork, so you can just add it in before you close. Okay, so that's for listing. Buyer, same concept, you just do it one less time. So if you're representing the buyer, you only have to submit to MC up here 2 times. That's once when you go under contract and once when you close. Okay, so buyers are much easier, right? We only have to click submit to MC twice, once when you go under contract, once when you close. What we don't do though is submit everything when we close. We feel okay on, at least in general. Yes, hey LaTanya, this is recorded. I'll send you it. You know, in general, your takeaway is not, oh my gosh, this is a big list. Your takeaway would be, okay, I know I need to do this to get paid. In general, around 3 days after I go under contract or I go list, right, come to the hub and I'll do this with you. I used to do compliance for every single agent in our office, so I know this very well. You know where to find me, right? In the hub, 12 to 12:30, Tuesday through Friday. Obviously, you can book with us as well, but DocuSign is just usually time sensitive, so I like that option. How do we feel about that? Okay, we're not going to cry in 5 minutes. Make 10, 4, 3, 2, 1. There is just one last thing I need to tell you. I'm not going to really show you it, but when you go under contract, if you can jot this down, and then this is kind of a find me or watch the video, okay? When you go under contract, whether it's a listing or a buyer, you can see right here, it says offers and commissions. Okay, and this might be new since you were here, Dave. Did you have green sheets when you were here, or did we do it in here? There were still green sheets when you were here last? Okay, so no more green sheets, this is what it is now. So anytime you go under contract, essentially, we would just come in here and click add new offer. And again, when the time comes, come find me and I'll show you where the video is as well today. But all you're pretty much doing is saying, okay, what the sales price is and how much of the commission you're receiving. Are you paying an outside referral? Are you splitting it? Right? It's just really telling the office how they're going to split up your commission check. So the takeaway here is when you go under contract, you need to click offers and commissions to submit this as well. Either come find me, I'm going to show you where the video is on this as well. You just don't need this until after you go under contract. This is the last thing I'm going to show you guys. And that's just where you can watch what I just said. Because I know, when you're learning this in theory versus when you have a transaction, it's just a very different mindset. I learned this by watching a video and following along. So kwbresources.com, right? Same site we started on the homepage, under our staff, right? This right here. These 2 videos are your best friends for what I just said. Bottom video, that's a 25-minute overview of this entire class, okay? So when you have your next transaction, pause it, follow along. It'll show you how to start the transaction and bring it into DocuSign, everything we just said. So you don't need to remember. But yes. Yeah, you can archive it. Yes, and it's always good to have a test room in there anyway, so you can always practice things before you do it with your transactions. Yeah, name it test contact. This top video right here, this is specifically what I was just talking about, submitting a commission request. That's when you go under contract, okay? So again, you don't really need to know how to do this until specifically you go under contract. So at that time, just mental note, great, come grab this video or come see me. I'll do it with you. It's not rocket science. It's just not, it is a few steps and not really worth your time to learn before you're under contract, in my opinion. I will teach it you at any time though, but that's the video. Awesome. Questions on anything we went over today? Or anything, KW, for that matter? Good question, yes. I will say that's how 85% of our agents use it. They don't even put an opportunity in until they have a transaction. So that is how most of our agents use it. Now, where you can use it as a bigger and better tool, and I didn't really go over this super detailed, but in general, what's so cool about this opportunities tab is, right, it can help you track your transactions from the very beginning, right? So cultivate, meaning growing that relationship, okay, and what action items do I need to do to move them from the cultivate phase to the appointment phase? There are checklists on each one of these phases that tell you, okay, here's a checklist of things you want to do to move them to the appointment phase. And then once you move them to the appointment phase, there's a whole new checklist of what you need to do to stay on track to then move them to active. So it really helps take off the mental load. If you do, actually click create an opportunity for those meaningful conversations about real estate, that's when you can really get a grasp on, okay, what action items do I need to do to move this person down the timeline, down my pipeline rather, right? Because they're all usually on different timelines. This helps you keep track of your transactions when you have multiple conversations with people per week about real estate. Does that make sense? Yeah. So yeah, you don't have to use it until you go under or have a transaction. However, it's a very, very powerful tool to use to help you systematize, organize your transactions. It can either even, and this is a little next level, it can even email your clients for you automatically to let them know, hey, your agent did these 3 things for you yesterday, right? So there's a lot it can do for you, and I can teach you guys that. I have a class on it as well and a recording. So if you do want to learn more about the opportunity pipeline in itself, if you don't mind shooting me an email, I'll reply back with the class for that. So if you're online, I'll drop my email in the chat. It's just leah@juleahdesigns.com. If you want the opportunity pipeline class, just shoot me an email with that as a subject, and I'll send that to you. I have it recorded. And it'll show you how to set up checklists, how to set up those automated responses so it sends to your clients to let them know all that you're doing for them, etc. Any other questions? Okay, guys. Well, just again to reiterate, you can book appointments with us once a week on KWB Resources, right? We're here for open tech time, Tuesday through Friday, 12 to 12:30, and we have these classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So let us know as you need us. Just know when you learn the tech, your goal is to get an overall takeaway and know where we are and when we're available, because it's our job to know it all. It's your job to sell houses. You just need to know the features exist to help explain the benefit to your clients, and then we'll help you implement it, okay? So just don't feel like this is all on you. It's not. That's what we're here for. All right, friends, I'll be around. If you have questions, I'm here for it. Otherwise, have a great Tuesday. You're welcome. Yeah, is there anything else you guys want to know?